New Testament reading comes from the Gospel according to Matthew, 3rd chapter, beginning from verse 1 up to 12. In those days, John the Baptist appeared in the wilderness of Judea, proclaiming, "Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is near." This is the one of whom the prophet Isaiah spoke when he said, "The voice of one crying out in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord and make his path straight." Now John wore clothing of camel's hair with a leather belt around his waist, and his food was locust and wild honey. And then the people of Jerusalem and all Judea were going out to him, and all the region along the Jordan, and they were baptized by him in the river Jordan, confessing their sins. But when he saw many Pharisees and Sadducees coming for baptism, he said to them, "You brood of vipers, who warned you to flee from the wrath to come? Bear fruit worthy of repentance. Do not presume to say to yourself, 'We have Abraham as our ancestor.' For I tell you, God is able from these stones to raise up children to Abraham. Even now the axe is lying at the root of the trees. Every tree, therefore, that does not bear fruit, good fruit, is cut down and thrown into the fire. I baptize you with water for repentance, but one who is more powerful than I is coming after me. I am not worthy to carry his sandals. He will baptize you with the Holy Spirit and fire. His winnowing fork is in his hand, and he will clear his threshing floor and will gather his wheat into the granary. But the chaff he will burn with unquenchable fire." The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
The last Sunday, we affirmed that the word tomorrow will belong to those who brought it the greatest hope. Not an easy affirmation to make then. It is even harder now amid the piling issues of sometimes dehumanizing policies we see and the host of social and international problems we face today globally. This Advent, more than most our heart owned the Baptist warning this morning. Even now the axe is laid to the root of the trees. And mighty America, sometimes picking on little nations, once stayed the progress of blade for a moment. Nevertheless, the world tomorrow will belong to those who brought it the greatest hope. For without hope, we become creatures of despair. This Sunday, we have similarly difficult task to proclaim caring love in our surrounding communities and the world where many people are being unloved to the point of abandonment and death. Soon we will light the candle of love, and we do this on the first Sunday, the Advent Sunday. Love surely stands at the center of Christianity. For without love, not only we gain nothing, but also we are nothing. Let's admit it. So much talk of love in the church is wretchedly sometimes sentimental, lacking substance and depth. It is all froth but no beer, scissors but no steak. In thinking of God's love, what we forget to our peril is the absolute precondition to love, which is human freedom. No freedom, I believe there is no love. In other words, God's love, all love, is self-restricting when it comes to use of power. Let's look at some examples of this. Earlier we heard, "You brood of vipers, who warned you to flee from wrath to come?" And these harsh words are addressed to the Pharisees and Sadducees, who share two common traits with all rulers of all kinds. The rulers of religion and politics and the rulers of educational institutions. In the first place, rulers prove that while gratitude may not be a profound emotion, the expectation of gratitude most certainly is. We parents too have that problem, don't we? In the second place, rulers have a remarkable ability to flee responsibility when things are going badly. After World War II, many people blame God, especially for the Holocaust. They should have been in the courtroom at Nuremberg, where the high and mighty, super efficient Nazi overlords who ran the world and the Reich were very busy blaming their next Nazi above them. Who warned them to flee from the wrath to come? As a terrible tribute to the fiery prince. It was only that Hitler at the top who was guilty. After experiencing the horrors of many wars on the globe, certain honorable American veterans, they proclaimed that they could not believe God anymore. And in that profound disappointment and horror, as if it had been the will of God that they should have been over there in the first place. It is not the will of God that any single human being die in a war on a battlefield. And it is no exaggeration, I think, to picture, in the context of war, that picture Christ standing between the two opposite lines, and every single bullet, every single grenade, and every single missile passing through his holy body. Why does God let these things happen? Because God cannot prevent them. Love being self-restricting the use of power, especially when it comes to power. If these human disasters grieve us and gives us incredible pain, we can also imagine how they completely break God's heart. But human disasters are primarily the responsibilities of human beings, not God. We can blame God only for giving us that freedom, the freedom that when it misused and makes these disasters of all kinds inevitable in our everyday life. Often I confess, and I blame God And I had those moments in my life. And sometimes I rail at God and saying, God, look, if you give an incredibly precious, expensive, rarity of kind of watch that you can imagine. I don't know. All I know is a Rolex maybe. Is that really the most expensive one out there? You know, you give this expensive watch to a small child, and the small child smashes it. Whose fault is this? But I have to recognize that if love, the true love, the love is the name of the game, freedom is the absolute precondition. God's love is self-restricting when it comes to the use of power. I think the Christmas story, more than any other stories in the Bible, shows us that you and I, we are going to be helped by God's powerlessness, not by God's almighty power. I think this is a great misconception sometimes. The Christmas story shows us that God had to come to earth as the little child of Joseph and Mary. God wasn't born in the big names family like Clintons or whatever the big name that out there. God came to this earth as just a helpless little child of ordinary man and woman, Joseph and Mary. Because freedom for the beloved demands equality with the beloved. But it's the choice really, as I have set it up, between the loveless power and the powerless love. What did God hope to accomplish by coming on earth as a baby in a manger? The British-American anthropologist Ashley Montague contends that adulthood is our undoing. As long as we are young, he says, we are lovable, open-hearted, tolerant, eager to learn and to collaborate. End of the quotation. We, and he says, we can even be induced to play with one another. Most adults, however, are mortal enemies. End of the quote. When adults become unloved and unloving, is it not because, like the Pharisees and Sadducees and other rulers, that we have become so defensive? So many of us are hardly out of diapers before we armed ourselves with all kinds of armors to protect us. Like our rulers, we believe that security only comes through having a greater power or a greater defense. However, consider this case. I'm going back to the stories about this anthropologist. In primitive society, in many of these primitive societies, children are almost never out of someone's arm. Their parents' arms, the arms of all the siblings and children in the village, and by being embraced by loving arms, these children always being reminded that they are loved, and they are loved just into being who they are. When you hold a child in your arms, don't you feel it's almost like a religious experience? It is. When Scourgons, about 3 years ago, when I baptized that little infant, I felt a little electrifying experience. That helpless, totally innocent little child. Close your eyes for a moment and picture yourself that as you are one of the shepherds around the manger. All of a sudden, Mary says to you, I am cold. I need to find another shawl. Here, would you please hold my baby for a moment? And there you are. You are holding all that unguarded goodness in your arm. Just imagine that. I think that should be the part of the imagination during especially Advent. Don't you want to respond to God's vulnerability with a little vulnerability of your own instead of I'm perfect, everything's well, and when I say, how are you doing? And some of our members, I'm fine. But knowing what he or she's going through, we are not fine. Can we be a little more vulnerable to one another? And I think that's the reminder of the little child who comes as Prince of Peace. But we cannot become more vulnerable until we get rid of the guilt that makes us so defensive. The guilt standing in between freedom and defensiveness. It is there to save us, but not destroy us. It is there to save us. Forgiven, we can become vulnerable. Unforgiven, we cannot. Forgiven, we are free to love again. Unforgiven, we can't love. For love is a gift of yourself. And how will you make a gift of that which you hate? Made vulnerable and forgiven, we are also empowered by the love that is of God. Love is not powerless. On the contrary, like today's passage, for I tell you, God is able from these stones to raise them up as children to Abraham. We could stay the axe from being laid to the root of the trees. Were we to allow the glory-beaming stars to illumine our dark night? Were we to cease crying, God, I want this and that, and I want it more, just for me, and start building not a more competitive, nor more permissive, but a loving and caring church, loving and caring neighborhood. And perhaps, maybe with this heart, I would like to ask all of you to pray, to support whatever way you can, as we are preparing to begin the community music school. The vision is to reach out and share our facility and the talents that God has given the members of our church, and so that we can offer them a free music lessons, especially those children who are underprivileged, and those parents that whom they cannot even think about. Brothers and sisters, if you and I fail in love, loving one another and being loved by one another, we as a church, we fail in everything else. It doesn't matter we raise $10,000 in, crowd work. It doesn't matter that we reach out our community through the community's music school. It doesn't matter we go to Puerto Rico or soon in the April, thank God we have 7 volunteers now. So we're going to go and have people who are in need, but it doesn't matter if we don't have love and we fail in love. So please, during this Advent, let us give our best and start among us, within our family and our friends around us. Share your love, your caring. Because the world tomorrow will belong to those who brought the greatest hope, because they show it the greatest love. Amen.